Hello everybody, welcome to Mead Ministry channel. If you're new, please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm going to talk about vanity and how it destroys you. Now, I'm sort of an expert in the subject, and this is very old news, but we all know Clavicular, right? And his quest to be human perfection. He also called J.D. Vance subhuman. Well, the irony is now J.D. Vance actually mogs Clavicular. But Clavicular, as you all know by now, it's just old news, the internet, but he got a botched nose job. He had a nose that was nice for his face. Sadly, he got a nose that kind of looks like my nose, and everyone's saying it's horrible. But the point is, Clavicular is extremely depressed. You can see it in his face. He feels empty. He's an empty shell. Nothing is satisfying his needs, his wants, and his desires, because he's made this all an idol. So, in the Christian looks-maxing perspective, what we focus on is maximizing your grooming habits so that your appearance is nice and neat and wholesome and elevated as you can get it, but without making it an idol, because anything can be an idol. The Bible can be an idol. Potato chips can be an idol. Okay, so a lot of things can be an idol in your world and in your worldview. And so the problem with Clavicular is he's made looks-maxing an idol, and that's the issue. But vanity is destroying him from within. You can see it. It's like he's imploding. And I don't like how people are being so mean to him. I think what they need to do is point him in the direction of Jesus so he can become Jesus-pilled and shed that vanity which has a hold over his life. And I think that right now, like, he goes clubbing, and I have to say this, Clavicular's kind of corny. He's just very corny, and like, I watched him interact with females, and it's just so corny to me. I know that when people reach a certain looks of, when they reach a certain amount of looks, I'm not saying all good-looking people are corny, but it seems like their personality becomes so vapid and so shallow that they lose any kind of originality of thought. Everything is based on their appearance. Do you know people like that? Yeah, tell me about it. Well, Clavicular is a prime example of this, and I think he's feeling that nothingness. It's an empty void that I think maybe maybe his parents got a divorce when he was young, or something happened in his life. He's 20 years old, and I'll be honest, folks, I thought he was much older than that. I don't know why Gen Z is aging so quickly. Or is he Gen Alpha or whatever that cutoff is? But yeah, so see what the world is doing to people. People are losing interest in things that used to give them interests and hobbies and things. But his hobby, I guess, apparently was looking superior to everyone else. See, I know, because I come from that same perspective. I wanted to mog everyone so I could feel better, and so that I could have a shield around me so any insult would not work, because I was, obviously so physically superior. The truth is, though, and we've seen it with Clavicular and his fans, is that they will take you down. People will love to see you crumble. And when you let vanity and pride elevate your own self, the Bible says, for every man who exalts himself will be taken down immediately. He'll experience humility for every time you exalt yourself. And also, of course, the Bible says that every day we choose life and death. So when you choose vanity, you're basically choosing death. You are choosing an empty void of nothingness to try to satisfy a spiritual urge. Because you know what, folks? We were created on this earth to worship God. And if we don't worship God, we're going to worship something else. And I realized myself that I was worshiping food. I was really having a chocolate cake for a time. And I was replacing the Lord with chocolate cake. And that's what we all do. But this vanity thing has reached a whole new level. See, back in my day, we used to call it metrosexual. Metrosexual is almost sort of scoffed at, right? But today, the level of perfection that people put themselves under, when people get this surgery, and that's why I brought up Madonna, and I didn't mean to criticize Madonna, she's only human, right? Despite being a morally loose woman, she's human like the rest of us. And I was just using Madonna as an example of when you get to a certain age, trying to look young makes you look older. So we have to embrace different roles as we get older. But what I notice now is in the looks maxing, the level of perfection is taking to an ultimate high, which can never be achieved while looking human, because once you do all these surgeries on your face, you stop looking human. One of the things that makes us look human is our flaws. Believe it or not, flaws can make you more attractive. Like my eyes are very wide set. To many in the looks maxing community, that is a severe flaw. But I'd rather have wide set eyes than close set eyes. My eyes give me a high trust face. So people would be more likely to buy a used car from me, than they would someone with close set eyes, like Travis Kelce. But the vanity and the pride and the egotism is what is destroying souls. And if someone can reach Clavicular and tell them about Jesus, and that we were created in God's image, that all of this looks maxing, when you take it to an extreme, is actually satanic, and it's actually the devil, because there are voices in our heads, and these little voices say, you're not good enough. You're too good. Oh, you deserve this. You're so much better than those people. Then it will tear you down. So I see this pattern with Clavicular in particular. That rhymes, doesn't it? Almost. That he is listening to those little voices and that build him up and take him down. See, this is what happened to me almost my whole life. Everyone says I had a midlife crisis. No, my whole life has been a crisis. I was 5 years old and I was in a crisis. I've never been happy with myself. I've always hated how I looked. I was told many times how ugly I was. And then when I lost a little bit of weight in my early 20s, I got all these compliments that I was not used to. I even got some female attention that I was not used to. So I went back to my overeating. And this kind of was a sort of a shield for me. But you cannot reach a level of perfection and expect to be human. We are human and we are flawed. Yes, we're made in God's image, but we also are flawed because we fell in the garden, right? So our perspective is cuckoo. And God's perspective is, you don't need to do this. Jesus Christ in the Bible, I'm not saying Jesus was unattractive. Jesus could have been handsome, but the Bible says there's nothing about him that made him stand out. There's nothing about him that says we should desire him. And I think what it meant was, people misinterpret that and think it must have meant he was a low-tier normie or something like that. No, I think what it means is he looked human. He was completely human. What these people in extremes like Clavicular are trying to do is look superhuman and cheat death, and you can't do that. All right? So vanity kills. Vanity destroys. Your flesh destroys you. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities of darkness. So if you let go of pride and vanity, you will be free. And that's why I started this Christian looks maxing movement to change the perspective, to realign Christian principles into looks maxing principles, and how you can actually achieve a very nice, pleasant appearance without going overboard. So what happens in looks maxing, it's all about idolatry. So that's what I want to address. I want to also address my video about Madonna. Now, Madonna, bless her heart, she is an older woman, and I have nothing against Madonna. And it seemed like it was a rant about Madonna, my video about what not to do when you get older. I was just using Madonna as an example because she has used extreme measures to try and be young. Now, it doesn't mean when you get old you have to give up your passions. It doesn't mean that you can't sing anymore. What it means is you play a different role. You don't want to be a young tart forever. Madonna wants to be a young starlet forever, and now that she's a mature woman, she can transition into a grandmotherly persona, like Dolly Parton, for example, has aged beautifully, although, yes, she has had surgical enhancement, but she relies more on her talent than gyrating her coochie. So, I just think, I was using Madonna, and I stand corrected. Madonna was a real musician. I had no idea that Madonna played drums. I didn't know that she played guitar. I didn't know that she did all these things. I know she worked really hard to make it, but I was just using Madonna as an example, so I know she won't see this video anyway, but sorry, Madonna, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just showing an illustration of why people need to rethink aging, and why it's important not to try hard to be young when you get old. That's what makes you look old, when you try hard to be young. Now, people are going to criticize me and say, well, Meade, you dye your hair, you do this. Yeah, but those are little subtle things that aren't, I'm not wearing, I'm not going to American Eagle, and wearing young people clothes or whatever. I don't do that. I don't do things. I'm not sure what they're doing. Do they do? I'm not dabbing. Oh, is that a thing of the past now? Dabbing? I don't know. I'm getting off subject here, folks. What I'm just trying to say is, vanity is a sin. Pride is a sin. Pray for Clavicular and point him to Jesus, because I think he's crying out. He's crying out. And Madonna, I don't know. She's a lost cause. She's into that Jewish Kabbalah. I don't know if that's the problem or not. But Clavicular is young, and I think that if someone can point him in the right direction, say, look, try Jesus. Look at Jesus, what he did for you on the cross, suffering, and fill that empty void inside. So that's all I have to say about that. So thank you all for watching. Remember, folks, you are made in God's image, even if you're a liberal. So thank you all for watching. Go to my website, meadskeletoplace.com. And remember, folks, say a prayer for someone special today. Bye-bye.